In 1799, after the French Revolution had quieted into the Thermidorian reaction, which was a coup within the French Revolution against the leaders of the Jacobin Club, who had dominated the Committee of Public Safety in 1794, General Napoleon Bonaparte overthrew the Directory and came into power, which allowed France to become a nationalist power. Napoleon was able to consolidate his rule by suppressing rebellions in France, normalizing relations with the Church in the Concordat of 1801, and streamlining the French law system in the Napoleonic Code. The Napoleonic Code is a French civil code established under Napoleon. It was drafted by a commission of 4 eminent jurists and entered into force on March 21, 1804. It was approved in France. This was a major step in replacing the previous patchwork of feudal laws, and thus the Napoleonic Code was one of the few documents that have influenced the whole world. However, it was not the first legal code to be established in a European country with a civil legal system. By 1804, Napoleon was so powerful that he declared himself emperor. Napoleon was able to defeat various military powers of Europe. He was able to win the Battle of Marengo against Austrian power near the city of Alexandria in 1800s, the Battle of Austerlitz against Russia and Austria in 1805, and the Battle of Friedland against Russia, led by Count von Benningsen in 1807. He was able to build himself an empire of dependent states, forced Tsar Alexander I to ally with him in 1807 in the Treaty of Tilsit, and control the majority of Europe. In addition, he was able to spread the reforms and influence of the French Revolution to a remarkable extent. The only blemish on his record was his stunning naval loss to Britain at the Battle of Trafalgar in 1805. In order to undermine Britain's sea power, Napoleon issued the Berlin Decree in 1806, imposing the continental system on Europe, which was meant to stop European countries from trading with Britain. However, the continental system hurt Napoleon. Upset by the Napoleonic rule, Germanic nationalism got its start, and the Germans began to move towards Romanticism as an intellectual rebellion against French Enlightenment ideas. In Spain, the attempt to impose the continental system led to the Peninsular War, a protracted guerrilla war that diverted French forces from the rest of Europe from 1808 until 1814. In 1810, Alexander I withdrew Russia from the continental system, and thus Napoleon moved his Grand Army into Russia in 1812. Although his army was able to push the Russians into retreat, the terrible winter decimated his army, which caused him to rush home to form a new one. He was defeated in October 1813 by an international coalition of armies at the Battle of Leipzig. In 1814, Napoleon was exiled to the island of Elba, and Louis XVIII took the throne of France. As the powers were starting to negotiate a settlement, Napoleon escaped from Elba and returned to France, raising an army during the period known as the 100 Days. Napoleon's army was defeated by Wellington of Britain and Blücher of Prussia at Waterloo in June 1815. He was then exiled to St. Helena in South Atlantic, where he eventually died. The chaotic Europe left behind by roughly 2 decades of war was recognized by the Congress of Vienna in 1814 to 1815. The major powers sent their top negotiators: Metternich of Austria, Castlereagh of Britain, Alexander I of Russia, Herdenberg of Prussia, and Talleyrand of France. This created a stable Europe where no power can dominate the other, not until a century later when World War I started in 1914.